it just makes me think that I've had a hell of a life. God has got me through impossible things. I didn't even know what breaking your spirit was. I just knew that they weren't going to do it to me. Oh, and they got badass Teeny B on the front. Oh my goodness.
Hey everyone, it's Paolo. Okay, so today's guest is a true powerhouse because I am going to be talking with the one and only Miss Tina Knowles. Now, not only is she one of the most famous moms in the entire world, but she is a businesswoman and a beauty and fashion icon who just released her new memoir called Matriarch. I have to tell you, it is a beautiful, beautiful book where she is so open and vulnerable and raw. So get ready, and I'll see you with Miss Tina Knowles.
Spoonful of Apollo, here we go.
Yeah?
Okay.
All right, Miss Tina Knowles, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You've been ready and you look fabulous. Okay, I said it when you walked in. I was like, oh my gosh. I just want to say thank you so much for being on A Spoonful of Paulo. It truly is an honor. It's a dream. I just admire you in so many ways. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh God. I'm also glad that you never changed your names. I know when you were young, you were going to change your name to like Linda Smith or Judy Green. I remember reading the book. I'm like, thank God she didn't. Like, Miss Tina Knowles. Hello.
Right.
So your memoir, I have to say, it is so powerful. It's captivating. It's inspiring. I read it a few times and I want to say thank you. Thank you for being so open with your story. When you were approached to do this book, did you know that your story was so worthy of telling, or did they have to convince you?
They had to convince me a little
Really?
bit. Yeah, because once I went through a divorce at 59, I started recording my life story only for my grandkids because I was, I never got to meet my grandmother, and I was always worried about, the rich history being passed on to my grandchildren. So I started recording it and I said, God, this is really good. But still, I just had this doubt as to whether people wanted to hear my story. I knew that they wanted to hear about my kids and their business, but I knew I wasn't willing to tell their business. So I just didn't know if I was worthy of that. And so they approached me a couple years ago and said, someone's offered you a book deal. And it doesn't have to be a memoir. So it didn't start off as a memoir.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but then as I started telling, just going back and listening to the stories, I was like, this should be a memoir. Because it's like, the first 50 pages we sent out, and that's what got everybody so excited, and the response was amazing. I never expected that.
Wow. I mean, yeah, the first 50 pages, I remember, I think you were 4 years old and you start writing it, and you were with your mom, and you guys were near a pecan tree, and she was talking to you about your ancestors. And you said, I listened to every single word my mother told me. These people, my ancestors and my parents, when they were young, were characters in a long drama that I was now a part of. Their struggles were not mine, but their lessons could be. This was my inheritance, these stories that people had done their best to erase or degrade to keep us from passing them down so that we wouldn't know our history and ourselves. I mean, what does that feel like for you to know that you put these stories that are so powerful in your book and they're never going to be erased because you remember these stories that your mom told you, and now they're in the book and they're going to live forever onto the generations? What does that feel like for you?
It feels amazing because I think that everyone, and I'm hoping that this book will encourage everyone to write their story because it's such rich stories and history. I was on a boat one time with some people and everybody told their origin story about their parents and their grandparents. And I mean, you talk about couldn't write something like that, couldn't make it up. And I think everybody should write down their history, or maybe not write it, just record it for your grandchildren.
Yeah.
But I am so happy that I did this book. I'm beyond happy because even though it took a little convincing, it's been the best thing for me. Yeah.
Wow. And what does that feel like to have it in your own words out there for people to read? Like, that must feel like, yeah, this is my story, my truth, and my words, and now you get to read it. I mean, that's got to feel so, like, I don't know, like amazing, powerful, beautiful.
It does, and it feels like no one can go and rewrite my history because they have. People have started so many rumors and craziness about where we came from and how we got here. And it's just nice to tell your own story.
I mean, there's so many powerful stories. You guys, there's so many, I can't even tell you. You being born and raised in Galveston, Texas, 50 miles from Houston. And there's this one story you write about is when you and your siblings went to a private school called Holy Rosary Catholic School. And when you were young, like, how could we go here? Because you guys grew up so poor. But then you found out that, your dad was driving the nuns, your brother's working in the yard, your mom was making the outfits for the people who worked at the church. But then the nuns, the way they treated you and your family is just mind-blowing. I mean, you had one nun, I think Sister Fidelis, who literally reached over to you and said in your ear, and I think the exact words were, "We're going to break that rebellious spirit in you." I mean, you're 5 years old, but did you even understand?
No.
Like saying, what are you saying to me?
I didn't even know what breaking your spirit was. I just knew that they weren't going to do it to me.
Oof.
Yeah. I just made this discovery that the reason why I could talk to people like I did and stand up for myself is because my parents were older when they had me. And I think they were just exhausted.
Yeah, because you're the last of seven.
I'm
you're
the last of seven. And they were, when I was 6, they were 50 years old. So you can imagine they're tired. And they just didn't discipline me a lot.
Wow.
So I talked back to adults. Not that was anything cute, but it was like I asked people why. I wanted them to treat me as equal because I grew up around these older parents and they let me drink coffee with them and have conversations with them. So I thought I was an adult.
Wow.
And I thank God for that because if I didn't have that, I would have let those nuns break my spirit. But I knew it, even though I didn't know what it meant. I remember going home and asking my mom one day, what does vain mean?
Wow.
Because they would call me vain. And my mom said, well, it's when you think you're cute. And so I was like, ooh, I don't want anybody to think that I think I'm cute, And it followed me because I would always try to kind of make myself small for a long time till I got to be a teenager, really.
Yeah.
So it did break some of the spirit in me, but it didn't, when they told me I'm going to break your spirit or you're a nasty little girl, and the things that they would say to me, I would always in my head be saying, no, you're not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because my parents gave me the freedom to fight back, I think.
Wow.
Because they weren't protecting me.
Yeah,
so,
they weren't. Yeah, reading that, that's what I read. And this went on for years, as you said. It went on for a long time, up until I think in 5th grade, your 5th grade teacher, Miss Olivier, she said something to you that literally lit you up. Do you remember what she said?
Yeah, she said that I was smart. For the first time, I heard that I was smart. Because I always thought, oh, God, I'm not worthy. Even though you're fighting these adults that are telling you you're not worthy and you're acting like you are, something deep inside you breaks when you're that young and someone is putting you down like that. So when this lady said, you're very bright, I was like, me? And I was, because they had put me in like a D class. And so I was doing well, but it changed my whole life, I think.
I mean, I'm that one teacher. That's how powerful our teachers are. But
That's
for her
right.
to say that to you, that you are smart.
Yes.
And it because you throughout your life up until then, you heard the opposite.
Right.
And then you have this one teacher that you highly admire and love. That to me is just, wow, that's amazing.
And
it
also,
really is.
I have to say that I think, I know that I was ADD. And there was no such thing then. But my attention span was always racing to the next thing. So I didn't do great in school when I was younger. And so that messes with your self-esteem too. Why can't I concentrate? Why can't I focus on this? Why can't I do math? So I think that a lot of that was going on. So for somebody to say, oh, you're smart, meant the world to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
It surprised me because you think after what the nuns did, you would pull back from your faith in God, but your faith in God is so beautiful and so strong. So how do you keep your faith even after the way you were treated as a young girl going to the school for years? How do you keep that faith and still love God?
Well, my mom was my mom went to mass 7 days a week, and she had
7 a.m.
faith.
mass, right?
Yes, and she had faith like you wouldn't believe. And I saw that faith got us through my dad making $35 a week with a family of 7 to support. And we never went hungry. We always were the best dressed kids.
Yeah.
And somehow she made a way out of no way. And I was giving that example all the time. And she was always praying and always telling me the reason why we're able to make it is because of God. It's because we give money to the church. And so it was just drilled into me. And I saw the example of her every day sitting in that chair with her prayer book. So I every day sit in my bed with a prayer book. And I know what it's gotten me through in my life. Nobody knows, the trouble I've seen. Like people say, like the song says, God has got me through impossible things.
Wow.
And so I've been able to keep my faith. It's what keeps me going. In this world, with all the things I have to deal with in a day, if I didn't have God, there, to know that no weapon is going to be able to be formed against my family, I think I'd be crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, and that's so beautiful. That is really beautiful. You write in the book about how you and your family, you were a teenager, and the police in Galveston, how they targeted your family. They harassed your brother. You were in jail twice. Do you think the police officers in Galveston, were they trying to break your spirit, kind of like what the nuns were trying to do?
Yeah, absolutely. It was that time. It was, the late 60s when it was all this unrest. And how dare, you be defiant, or not even defiant, but how dare you talk back to a police officer? They were supposed to be, all of them weren't bad, but there were some bad ones. And we just happened to run into the bad ones.
God. Well, I'm so happy you ran into your brother's girlfriend, Lydia, because she literally, I know she's the first person who planted that seed to say, hey, I think you need to get out of Galveston because there's dreams happening outside of here. And I remember, I think it was like you moved to California, and then you worked at a cosmetic company. And then 2 weeks later, you met. She comes inside the store, Miss Tina Turner.
Yes.
I love when you write about it. And then she walks in there. What happened? Like, you saw her, right?
Well, I saw her, and I just couldn't believe that I saw her. And I was cheesing from ear to ear. And my really good friend there, she was older than me. She was like, oh, God. Because she used to always say, Tina, you're so country. Don't talk. They would always tell me that. And then they'd say, what is this? And I'd say, oh, I got to go wash my hair. Because, I was from Texas.
Yeah.
And so I was really country. And I was very nervous. But I think Tina, and, I got to tell her this story later.
I know.
I think that she felt sorry for me because I was just like a little sick puppy looking at her like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. And she came over and got some lip gloss for me.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine that?
No, I cannot imagine that. I pictured it when I was reading your book, but and I do love because it is a full circle moment, like you said, because decades later you see her at the Kennedy Center Honors, and like you got to share that with her.
Yes.
Oh, I just love when a full circle happens. Like I live for those stories.
It's been so many of those moments in my life.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And reading your book, I have to say, oh my God, what an amazing, I have a thing for moms. And what an amazing mother you were and you still are to your girls, all of them. I loved how you dedicated days to your daughters. Like you had Solange Day on Wednesdays and you would just stay with her and do whatever with her. Where did that come from for you to say, you know what, I'm going to put me, a little bit of this on the side, and let me spend and give my full attention to my girls? Where did that come from?
Well, it came from just me. One thing that my mom did so many great things, but one of the things that my mother taught me was that all of her children were different and they had different needs. And you can't just, even though she had all those kids and my sister had 8 children and they were over there all the time, my mom never called one kid by another kid's name. She always found something really great about that kid and celebrated it. And what I realized is with Solange, she needed her own identity. That was really important to her from day one, that she walked to the beat of her own drum. She still does today. And that she not be in the shadow of Beyonce, who was this little local
celebrity
star. And so I saw it in her that she really needed it to be Solange Day.
Wow.
Beyonce, I never had to have a Beyonce Day. It was but I did have a Solange Day because that celebrated her by herself. And it was wonderful because she, that's something that she needed. and it turned out good.
It turned out really good.
Yeah.
I love the story too when Beyonce was watching Whitney Houston sing the national anthem, and then she looked over at you and she's like, Mommy, I'm going to do that one day. And you didn't say, girl, keep dreaming. You said,
right.
If that's what you want, you're good.
You can have it.
You can have it.
That's
I
right.
love that you say that. And it happened 13 years later after that it happened then.
Who would ever thought?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. One thing that I connected really well in your book was on page 107. It's when you had this conversation with your mom, and you said to your mom, why didn't you trust me? And your mom's response was, it's not that I didn't trust you, I didn't trust the world. And that I connected with so well because my mom passed away 3 years ago, and I remember reading this in your book. I remember when my mom found out that I was gay. I remember where we were. We were in the house I grew up in, on top of the staircase, and my mom was crying so hard. And I said, Mom, but what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, don't you trust me? Like, it's going to be okay. And she said, it's not that I don't trust you. It's the world, and it's your relatives.
And what they're going to do
What
to
they're
you.
going to do. I grew up
right.
Catholic like you. I have
Yes.
6 siblings like you. And my mom was really worried for me. For you to remember that your mom said that to you, that must have had a huge impact on you, for you to remember and write it in your book.
Yeah, I did, because that day I was calling her to tell her that she was wonderful.
Wow.
And I had just had this awakening that my mom was so good in so many ways, that the little things that she didn't do perfect were okay, and I forgave her for them. And that's what I said to her, but it always bothered me that she didn't trust me. Mm-hmm. And I said, I asked her, I said, why didn't you trust me? Did something happen to you? And she's like, no, Teenie, it wasn't that I didn't trust you. I just didn't trust the world. And she never answered the question as to whether something happened to her, but I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah, that's what I got from reading the book. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember you saying when Beyonce was born, you went home, it was the first night, she wasn't an easy baby, and you wrote on page 149, you said, my first thought was to call my mother and ask, what was I supposed to do? The grief hit me so fast, caught me so unaware that I couldn't run away from it. There in the bathroom, I doubled over as the realization finally gripped my heart. This thing I had known rationally, but not fully accepted. My mom is not ever gonna be here for me to call. I thought about this because just like, I think anyone who's grieving, I think, especially grieving a mother, I had this, last week, I was going to cut my hair and just I put my hand in the pocket, I was gonna call her. And just a split second. It's been about almost 45 years since you lost your beautiful mother. When you think of her, like when you're alone at your house or driving, what comes to your mind when you think of your mom?
God, I just, it's crazy because it's 45 years. I mean, that's the first time I've heard that, but because I hadn't counted the years, but it just amazes me that even every time I read this book, and I'm right now doing, when I was doing the audio part of it, that I would cry. And I'm like, how many times am I going to hear the same story and cry? And I think the answer is always. I think every time I talk about that week that I lost my mom, every time I talk about not being able to call her when I had kids, I cry because it would never stop being painful for me to lose her, because, God, just thinking about what she would have felt now seeing what is going on in this life,
Yeah.
It just makes me sad, and I think I'll never get over losing her.
Yeah, you've lost so many. I mean, you lost your parents, siblings, relatives, friends. What have you learned about grief over the years, would you say, with losing so many people who you truly love so much?
I just, I don't know. I mean, nothing prepares you for that grief. I don't care how many times you've been through it. I lost my brother last year, and I grieved that because, each time it takes me back down memory lane with them and my relationship with him, and it's painful. So I don't think you could ever prepare yourself for grief. It's just something that is going to come, and you got to just, what is Lady Sings the Blues, and that the song that says, good morning, heartache, just come on, just have a seat, sit down, because you can't avoid it. It's there, and you have to accept it and get through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in that. My mom was my biggest fan. When I interviewed Oprah for the first time, or Carol Burnett, Susan Lucci, Olivia Newton-John, my mom would take my photo and put on her Instagram, and she would write in her broken English, because my parents are from Italy, and she would write like how proud she was of me. And I have to tell you, like I sometimes I look at those memories and it really touches my heart to know that my mother was my biggest fan.
That's right.
It's beautiful. And for you, I know that your girls, like, you're their biggest fan. You've been there since day one. You have supported them. You have loved them. What do you think they would say, knowing that you are their biggest fan for all, even, Kelly and Angie, what do you think they would say, like, knowing that you're their biggest fan?
Well, I think they have great appreciation for that. And they're my biggest fan too.
I know they are.
And
it's
that
beautiful.
It's wonderful.
Here, take the tissue
It's
over there.
reciprocal.
It's a little secret place.
That's
I forgot that we
very
had
cool.
this. Okay. Yeah, but that's so beautiful. I love that they know that too, that you
Yeah.
are their biggest fan. Yeah, that's really, really special. It's beautiful. You write in the book about this music industry and how tough it can be. You got to be surrounded by the right people, because you and your ex-husband, Matthew, you guys, you were there for your daughters. And there's a really great story about when Beyonce got her first solo album. You got to read it. And you say on page 294, you say, "But now I was mad. I thought about all the times I had to fighting with TV directors and lighting people who didn't know how to light black girls and turn them gray, teaching them their jobs in the moment, or fighting with someone I was so intimidated by on set, advocating for my girls so that people would just stop being so careless with their feelings and their art." I think it's so important to stand up to these powerful people, especially when you know they're lying, because that's what's happening in our world, especially in our country. What advice would you give to someone who says, well, okay, I should stand up to these powerful people? Don't you think they should? And what would you say to that?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you are, it's interesting, because for myself, I probably would not have fought as hard. But I always felt so protective of my girls that I would find the courage somehow to go and talk to people who would say, "You don't know what you're talking about. Oof. This is, you don't know anything about this." And I'm like, "I know they don't look right. Oof. And I know you didn't start their music on time." And I fought with people. And I learned a lot of it from my ex-husband, because he just did not play. Yeah. And he believed in excellence. And I would psych myself up and say, what would he do? And I would go up and I would fight with these people, and I would get the best results. And the lesson that it taught the girls is not settle. Do not be polite enough. You can be very polite, but when it comes to your art, when it comes to your work, you cannot worry about somebody thinking you're nice, because nice doesn't get you what you need. Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My favorite part in the book was reading, it was on page 343, and you say, "As I closed the book, I made a decision. I had a hell of a life as a mother and a wife. Now it was time to start my own life." Oh my God, I love that. How is that going for you, putting yourself first and starting your own life? How is that going?
It has gone very well for me. I have a lot of revelations that I've come to. And one is that sometimes I put myself first. Not all the time, but sometimes I do. And that you have to fight, especially if you spent your life like people pleasing a bit and taking care of everybody around you. Wow. That you got to take care of yourself, and that you deserve it. I know that I deserve to be taken care of myself.
You sure do.
Yeah.
Is it true that you go to the mall by yourself, or you go to CVS, Walgreens, like you don't need a whole entourage, you go by yourself?
Yeah.
I love that so much. That's really cool. You're the real deal, Oh. When you look at these pictures that we have of your life, your family, of you growing up, and you think of where you are today, like, what goes through your mind? I mean, when these pictures are your parents, your grandparents, your daughters, your grandkids, like what? I mean, think what comes to your mind all these decades later, and where you are today, and writing this book, like.
Well, I mean, first of all, when I walked in here, I got emotional because just to see all the photos, the way you set them out is so beautiful. But it just makes me think that I've had a hell of a life. It reinforces the fact that I've had this rich, beautiful life. And that even though I had a lot of mishaps and a lot of pain, I mean, I've been through a lot in my life, overall, the good way outweighs the bad.
Wow.
Yeah, the good. I mean, this is a testament to it with these
It really is a
photos
testament.
here. Yes.
You remind us all that, being a matriarch is not just someone who gives birth to a child. It's someone who literally stands up.
Yes.
And you did that. You did that for your stylist at your salon at Headliners. You did that for the guy who was dying of AIDS in the hospital who thought you were his mother. Right. You did that for Girls Time and Destiny Child. You did that for Maxwell, who they wanted him to wear that dumb hat.
Yes.
And you also did that for Tina's Angels. And I have to say, and I know I speak for everyone who's watching, I say thank you, because reading your book, I knew your story, but I didn't know the whole story.
Right.
And reading it page by page by page, and I read it a few times, it's because your story is so important. And I'm so glad that you kept it alive for all of us to read it, because you have no idea how many lives you're going to help and how many lives you're going to touch. So I know I speak for everyone when I say thank you.
That was the intention. Yes, so that makes me feel great that you got that.
Wow, I did. So we had to go get you something. Okay. We did some shopping, okay? We got something really for you that's so special to celebrate your book, okay? So little something, just to, because it's such a big moment for you with this, your story and your book. So we hope you like it.
Okay, it says, Miss Tina, thank you for sharing your inspiring journey from daughter to mother to woman to matriarch. Love, Paulo and Patrick. Oh, and I got badass Teeny B on the front. Oh my goodness, and it's a beautiful matriarch necklace. I want to put it on.
Gold necklace for you. We had it specially made to celebrate your special day, because you're just a reminder to every single person out there, to every single mom, that you can do it. Don't give up on your family, and don't give up on yourself.
That's right.
Really.
That was the message.
I can't, I really can't. We're gonna put that on you. We'll get that on you. But I really can't thank you enough.
I can't thank you enough. This was wonderful. I so enjoyed it.
Oh my God, I enjoyed it.
Yes.
Well,
I enjoyed your question at the Oprah.
And Oprah's book club,
Patrick. And I told my daughter this morning, I said, oh God, he was from New Iberia, Louisiana. What's the odds of that?
It's really, that was a really powerful moment. It was just touching, and I was so proud of my husband when he had asked you that question, and seeing you and Oprah together was really beautiful. And I'm so glad you're able to get your story out there, because it's a read for everyone. So everyone, wherever you get your book, it's out today. I'm telling you, it is a beautiful book, and like I said, I have a thing for moms, and you are one amazing mother, and your girls are really lucky to have you, and because you're just there's no one like you. You're just so special. So thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So give it a thumb up. I want to thank you, Miss Tina Knowles, for today. I'm gonna remember this. I always write in my journal after an interview, and I can't wait to write in my journal and share what an amazing experience this was. Okay. I love you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time on Spoonful of Paulo. Yay! Oh my God. So you love the necklace?
I love it. I want to put it on.
We did some searching and talking, and for soon as this was confirmed, what are we getting Miss Tina Knowles?